Hi everyone. I just wanted to share some thoughts today about freedom and the freedom to follow your conscience, the freedom to follow Jesus, the freedom to follow your faith, or the freedom to follow what you hear the Lord saying to you in your prayer, right? We all, faith, what is faith but a relationship with God, our Creator, and who God has revealed Himself to be in His Son, Jesus Christ, and the ability to listen to the Holy Spirit guiding and leading you. And do I have the freedom? Do you have the freedom to do that? Certainly your answer might be, of course, Curtis, I have the freedom to do that. But sometimes situations test that freedom. Things that happen in our world test that freedom. So in our country, we believe we have the freedom, the right to freedom of religion, the freedom to worship, the freedom to believe, right? And those rights are protected in our country, the freedom to believe in God, right? And the whole situation in our country right now with this pandemic, this which is very a huge trial for our country and for the world, right? Where I personally feel my religious liberty, my freedom to worship, and my freedom to have faith and make decisions based upon my faith is being challenged right now. And personally speaking, I'm not being challenged right now, but family members are being challenged, and I know people who are in situations where maybe they're in college, they're going to school, and the school is asking them to do things that they have decided to go against their faith, right? So do I have the freedom? Do I really have the freedom to follow Jesus? Can I do something or decide to do something because I'm being led by faith? Do I even have a right to act, in the eyes of the world, unreasonable according to the world's standards? Do I have a right to act unreasonable according to your standards? It would seem that the freedom to act according to faith right now is under attack. Many believers have come to realize that the world doesn't have a perfect answer for COVID. And some of us have turned to God, right? We were people of faith, we were believers before COVID, but this situation, this particular situation, this pandemic has in essence pushed us into the arms of God even more, right? Our faith has grown and we're turning to God for protection, right? God is creator, He's also protects, right? We're also turning to God, to His Son, Jesus, for healing, okay? And for me, it's been kind of an epiphany. My eyes have opened to trust in the Lord more with my health, right? Believers can appreciate, I still do appreciate, medicine and what it has to offer. And I do believe that God works through medicine, through doctors, through pharmaceutical companies even. I am treated by doctors. I take pharmaceuticals. To maintain health and to prevent me from getting sick. I've taken vaccines, right? I've even been operated on. I have had surgery. But so I can trust in medicine, right? But still trust in God. I mean, they're not mutually exclusive. I can have a trust in God and have a trust in medicine. Faith in God for health needs need not be mutually exclusive with medicine, but it can be. Faith in God can be mutually exclusive from something that the medical world is offering me for my health. I can choose to reject what someone is offering to me. I have the freedom to do that. And I can put all of my trust in God. It can be mutually exclusive. And I think the current pandemic and this hyper focus on the vaccine for preventative measures has opened up an opportunity for faith and religion, right? The medical community's lack of understanding regarding the vaccine, despite their repeated claims that the vaccine is safe and effective, have pushed some people of faith to deeper trust in God. Also, the mixed information that's out there has created this vacuum of distrust, okay? Who can one trust to be objective and impartial? Can a drug company be impartial? Can leaders, political leaders, be impartial? Can religious leaders be impartial and objective in their advice they give us? Pope Francis has recently made a statement. He called getting the vaccine an act of love. Okay? President Joe Biden recently used the proverbial we when he said, we are losing patience with those who haven't been vaccinated. We are losing patience with those who haven't been vaccinated. Pope Francis is saying, get vaccinated. It's an act of love. Okay? So this strong-arm type of rhetoric, or this moralizing, putting a moral tag on getting the vaccine, it can, create distrust, right? Mandates and guilt trips come out while at the same time there's adverse side effects from the vaccines that are becoming more and more known. Also, the effectivity of the vaccine has lessened, right? We know, like in places of Israel, the effectivity of the vaccine has lessened. People do get COVID who have been vaccinated. There's even been a surge in Israel where there's this real high vaccination rate, I think it's over 70%, and yet they're having a surge of COVID cases in Israel. So this type of information causes one to not quite trust what you're hearing, all right? And as a believer, I feel like I'm on this storm-tossed sea of information, right? And I've lost faith in the captain of the boat, right? And I've lost faith in the guy who built the boat. And I'm putting my trust, really in kind of a mutually exclusive way, I'm putting my trust in the creator of the seas, the creator of the ocean on this storm-tossed sea. And I'm putting my trust, if you think about the story of Jesus on a storm-tossed sea and he's asleep in the boat, I'm putting my trust in Jesus, who is asleep in the boat. And when the disciples ask him, wake him up and ask him, Lord, don't you care about us? He says, where is your faith? Did you not believe and trust in me? So I think there are those believers, myself one of those, who are being pushed to put my faith in Jesus, to trust him on this storm-tossed sea. And then the question begs, and I'm asking the world, and I'm asking religious leaders, and I'm asking political leaders, and I'm asking religious leaders, and I'm asking presidents of universities and presidents and CEOs of corporations, do I have this freedom? Are you allowing me to have this freedom to trust in God and to believe in his power to protect? To believe in his authority over nature? To believe in his authority, Jesus' authority over sickness, even death? Am I allowed that freedom to believe and trust in God in these dark days on this storm-tossed sea? Can I live in this understanding? Isn't this my religion? Can I choose that? Yes, our Constitution in this country protects their religious liberty. Conscience is protected. I can choose not to get the vaccine. That is my choice. I'm choosing to trust in God. I'm choosing to trust in Jesus to heal if, God forbid, I get the vaccine. I'm sorry, if I get the disease, if I am affected by COVID, right? And family members of mine have gotten COVID. Can I trust in the Lord in this? And isn't that worthy? My thinking right now, my faith, isn't that worthy of a religious exemption? I know it seems unreasonable to someone without faith. And I know it seems unreasonable to the world. But sometimes faith is unreasonable. It is unreasonable to you. I get that. And hasn't faith always been unreasonable? If it were reasonable, would we even need religious exemptions, right? Faith has always been unreasonable to some. And while a person of faith can decide, I'm not saying a person of faith cannot a person of faith can decide, even as an act of love, to get the vaccine. Could another person of faith, another believer, not take the vaccine as an act of faith? Pope Francis says, get the vaccine. It's an act of love. Great. And I support and I respect the person that does that. As an act of love, I mean. He said act of love. A person can get the vaccine as an act of love. Could not I decide not to get the vaccine as an act of faith? I'm trusting in God. I'm not trusting in a vaccine. I'm not trusting in Pfizer for my health and well-being. I'm not trusting in President Joe Biden for my health and well-being. I'm not trusting in even my giving full trust to my doctor for my health and well-being. I've chosen who directs me to take the vaccine. I've chosen to trust God in this crisis. I've chosen to trust my faith in the Lord because he many, many times healed people in their sickness. And I've used an analogy of the woman who had bled for 12 years. She was bleeding and she went and saw many doctors. She saw 7 doctors and nobody helped her. In fact, they just made her condition worse. And she said, if I could just touch the hem of his cloak. She said that to herself. That's what was stirring in her heart. If I could just but touch the fringe of his garment, I would be healed. That was her faith. She believed that. If I could just touch the fringe of his garment, I would be made well. I would be healed. And when she was healed, Jesus turned to her and said, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Your faith has healed you." Am I given that freedom to act in the same way as that woman? To make a decision similar to that woman? I'm trusting in Jesus. I'm trusting in him. And for me, it's mutually exclusive right now. Not always. Sometimes if I hurt my back many years ago and I had to have back surgery. And I trusted the doctor who told me, "Curtis, you're not going to walk again unless you get this surgery. You have to get this surgery. We got to get the pressure off that nerve. Otherwise, you're going to be in extreme pain. You have to have the surgery." And I trusted him, right? I trusted him. And I had that surgery. And while I was having that surgery, I also was trusting in God that he would bring about the healing. So that was a situation where faith and medicine wasn't mutually exclusive. They worked together, right? In this situation right now, with COVID, and with the unknowns, and with the unknowns about the vaccine, despite the rhetoric, despite the propaganda, despite the continual message that it's safe and effective, I've chosen to trust Jesus with this in a mutually exclusive way. Do I have that right? Is not that my religion? I say yes. And I should be given that freedom to make that decision. And I should not be discriminated against because I've made that decision. I'm making a decision from the place of faith. It's an act of faith that I'm making. And that does not criticize or condemn anyone else who makes a decision out of an act of love to get the vaccine. I'm not disrespecting you and your decision, but please respect those who make the decision from a place of faith to not get it. God bless you all. And I hope these words, and especially for those of you who find yourself in a very difficult and precarious situation where you feel like you're being forced to do something against your conscience, I hope they're encouraging words for you. God bless. Take care.